Everyone's a critic. Everyone's a critic. Everyone's a critic. Everyone's a critic.
This theme song is the best thing to come out of Florida because I made it in Florida.
Everyone's a critic. Hey, folks, thanks for joining us another week, another day, another time in Troy. A wonderful time in Troy. We're doing Everyone's a Critic today. Might be back-to-back Everyone's a Critic, but we'll see what happens.
We'll see, baby.
So if you're new to this is a different style of Everyone I Know where we take one topic, sometimes with just the fellow, sometimes with a guest. Today we got a guest. And we kind of just do the Everyone I Know thing to one thing and criticize it and all that good stuff. Before we get into it, though, this podcast is brought to you by you guys. By
the patrons, you fools. You idiots, we've tricked you.
I didn't introduce everybody. Hey, my brother's here.
Hey.
Brendan's here.
Hello.
You have a guest in a second, though?
Hey.
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 But yeah, Patreon's cool. Thank you guys. We appreciate you. But also, who else brought us this podcast today? Andrew?
Everyone I Know is also brought to you by NYS Music, or New York State Music. New York State's leading music news source. Visit NewYorkStateMusic.com for news on upcoming shows and festivals across New York State, interviews with upcoming and established bands, album reviews, and award-winning photography, and a look at what makes New York State the best state for music in the country. Bands of all genres and sizes can contact New York State Music. No, it's definitely true. To have their events featured on the website free of charge. Visit NewYorkStateMusic.com for more info. New York State is the best place for music. Name one better state.
California?
Wrong.
Probably
Not
California.
a state. It's a country. Republic of California, baby.
Okay, so we do have a guest today for Everyone's a Critic. We have Joe Bellacosa.
Howdy, folks.
The greatest trivia host in the world.
Our favorite trivia host.
Actually, it's the Galaxy now.
Oh, the Galaxy.
Galaxy.
Damn
Congrats,
straight, dude.
bro.
Where'd you go?
Thanks. Well, we just sent our, trivia night out into the
Into the
radio
airway.
waves,
Oh.
into outer space. It came back best in the galaxy.
Damn. Congrats.
You guys been working with, what's the organization? Siri, whatever, the Search for Intelligent Life?
Samus.
No, there's like a thing that sends out stuff. Forget it.
Yeah, I know what it is, but that was funny to watch.
Siri.
Thanks.
Hey, Siri. What's
Hey, Siri. What's the best? Okay. So Joe, tell us about yourself.
My name is Joe. I am a trivia host, as you might well know already. And I am a Game of Thrones fan. And who's a game? And I'm here to talk to you guys today. Let's talk.
Cool. You're doing a Family Feud thing, right? Coming up soon?
That's right. Yeah, a couple months ago we did a live game show. We made a set. We had the big game board, and I was hosting, and we had teams register at Franklin Alley Social Club. It was called Alley Feud.
Cool.
It was a successful event. We're going to do it again in maybe a month or so, maybe June, maybe early July. So,
And I'm going to fucking be there because it was tight as fuck. I was there.
I wasn't there, unfortunately.
We wore mustaches. It was cool.
You guys played?
Yeah, we did. We lost, but we played. It's about the love of the game.
Yeah. Well, keep your ears open for that, folks. And as Joe alluded to, today we're going to be talking about the arguably biggest show on television, the HBO. It's not cable.
Definitely not cable.
It's HBO.
What are we talking about, Chris?
Game of Thrones, and specifically, probably season
8. I got a little thing.
It's like the Kenny G mix?
Good ear. It is a clarinet.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Da-na-na-na-na-na.
Break it down now.
We'll stank on it.
Not again. Haha. Fooled
Okay.
you. Game of Thrones.
Yep, so we're going to talk about Game of Thrones, probably season 8 in depth. There's going to be lots and lots and lots and lots of spoilers. So
If you're
yeah.
listening to a Game of Thrones critique
seriously,
podcast and you
don't.
think there's not going to be spoilers, shut your damn mouth, you
Yeah.
child, you petulant child.
So yeah, it's so fair. What's it called?
Fair warning.
Warning,
Think
thank
with
you.
your
Yeah.
brain.
This is not going to be like The View, where Meghan McCain just randomly launched into a tirade about how the show ended.
Was
The
she-
Monday morning
did she
after the
really
show.
do that?
Yeah,
Jesus
she did.
Fucking Christ!
Like, people freaked out. People
Sounds-
stood up from the desk and were like, I'm only in season 4.
yeah.
It was amazing.
Are you saying that people lost their minds online?
Yes.
Yeah.
People lost their minds in the room when that happened.
So
I just thought the best part of that was it proved that they have no production meeting at The View.
Oh,
Because
no
it would have
shit.
came up in their production
Yeah.
meeting.
And also, like, Meghan McCain's straight up off the rails. We were saying before we recorded, I'm surprised she didn't accuse everyone on the show of being anti-Semitic.
So one of the things that Joe brought up before we started, something he wanted to talk about, kind of in depth, and it's probably going to steer some of this because the take on the newest season of Game of Thrones is contentious to say the least, because people aren't happy about the way things ended, and they could probably stop talking about it. And how'd you put it, Joe? Before
I think I said, do people want to like stuff anymore?
and that is a
No.
good question. They don't.
All right, podcast over.
Yeah,
that
done.
question's been answered.
You stupid bastards.
So I'll start off with the first couple episodes of the season. Brendan can attest to this. I was very critical of it.
Yes.
And then I so today I was thinking about it. I'm like, I don't want this to turn into a roast of the newest season of Game of Thrones, which you could very easily do because there's huge plot holes and the character development isn't as on par with the rest of the series. Like the way that they treat Jamie at the end, I think that was kind of a huge fucking misstep, and it would destroy a character that was built up over fucking 8 seasons. But at the same time, there's still great things in the show. The show
Yeah.
was amazing for what was 9 years total? Was it 9 years?
I don't know, dude. I was a
10,
big
yeah.
baby
Like,
boy,
Yeah,
I think.
it's been around forever. The production value's always been great on it. It's okay to critique stuff without hating it
Yeah.
and making a fucking petition to ask HBO.
Yeah,
Did you see the reverse article where somebody's like, showrunners make petition for you to make your own goddamn show if you hate it so much?
That's obviously a dumb idiot thing,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I mean, like, yeah, they're gonna get everybody back together. All the actors are gonna like say
Do again.
our schedules are completely barren, and we can jump back
Yeah.
into this, do the whole thing over again. And hopefully, the people that wrote this petition will like it enough that they won't have another
They
petition.
will make another petition.
I've
on
found
us.
that there's a strong correlation between the people who are like that about how the show went, and those seem to be the same people that just seem to have misunderstood the whole show. Like it just seemed like they seem to be the same people.
You
who
talking
think
about the
like
Danny stands?
Yeah, the people who think like Danny was the good guy for 8 seasons until this.
Yeah, well,
Like you missed the
character arc. You missed the whole arc.
yeah, like there was a
I get
breakdown
it. It was
saw
rushed at the
where-
end, but she was 70%
Yeah.
of the way there already.
Yeah, that's I think probably my biggest critique was how rushed that the last season really was.
Well, guess what? They were offered 10 episodes worth of production
Yeah.
value, and they said, no, I want to make Star Wars.
Yep, pretty much.
I think
want
that-
that
Start
Disney
the
money.
petition now.
I mean, yeah, you take the last 2 seasons, right, where there was 13 episodes,
Yes.
and over the span of time where there would be 20, some of them went overtime. So, like, you know, we're dealing with maybe like 5 episodes that they could have used to get you to places in a more natural way.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't think that could be argued in any way at all.
Yeah, I think that it should have. I really think that this should have been 3 full-length seasons. You should have had last season should have been full length to make the things make a little more sense, pad things out a little bit.
So you don't
Then you-
travel from fucking Essos
Yeah.
to Westeros in like 15 minutes?
Then this season should have been like the penultimate episode would have been the Battle of Winterfell.
Yeah.
Yep. And
Then
that
like
would
that would have been
end with
episode
that.
9,
And then we're
you have
march on
one whole
Westeros.
season where
Where
the
they're
shit
at-
goes race. But the thing I think is that you could do that and then take the exact same episode they ended the show with, put it right on the end, and it just would have been better.
Yeah,
like
if
it
they
would have been. It could have been the
developed
same
character
episode
of Bran
Because-
a little bit fucking better.
Yeah, because there's nothing. I don't think there's anything wrong with the major
Just
beats.
fucking staring at people.
There's
the
nothing
entire
wrong with the
goddamn
major
time.
beats of what happened. They all make sense.
Like the last episode as a whole, as an episode, if there was more development behind the characters and behind the setup of it, and there was a better pacing to it, it would have been. No, I'm not saying it was a bad episode. I'm saying it would have made more sense, and it would have felt less hollow, I guess.
Well, I saw a lot
Yeah.
of people saying they wanted to see a whole season of what happened after the climactic scene of Danny and John. I'm like, I don't want to see a whole season of
I
that.
don't give a shit.
Yeah, there
Bron
wasn't really a
fucking-
lot of room for a whole season
Yeah.
after
Yeah,
that.
I don't want to
That
see a
is
whole
the
season of sitting
final
around debating who should be the
act, right?
king. And
Yeah.
oh,
It's fucking
what a horrible.
They
Bran
just gave us
wheeling around,
they just gave us
brooding the
2
entire
full
time.
acts in that episode after that happened.
Yeah,
Yeah, they did.
And left it basically just to stand there and have all the lords of Westeros standing there, and then Tyrion gets led up in shackles and basically gets to run off on a monologue after people said he talks too much.
yeah. It was a great moment for Tyrion where he gets brought out to kind of be judged and ends up just running the meeting.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. But I think
That's how you fucking do it as a somebody with a disability like Terry, and you have to work twice as hard to get the same amount of respect, and he fucking did it.
Well, I think that the climactic scene, I think everybody agrees, is Dan and Johnny.
Yeah.
And then everything else is the coda
Dan
to the
and
show.
Johnny.
And like Dan and Johnny, Danny and John.
Johnny boy.
That's the climactic scene. The rest is a coda. And how else could they have done it? Like, people were complaining, oh, it happened so early in the episode, or like, I wanted more time. But like,
the placement
that's the only
that,
way to do it.
That episode, I didn't have a problem with it as well. Like I said before, I think if there was more padding before the act, more episodes, like you were saying before, another whole season where it's the march to
Yeah.
Westeros,
Yeah.
that would have made a lot more sense. The one thing I will say though, the last scene with everybody in the small council, that was like the fucking Bad News Bears in there. I felt like
Oh yeah, it's straight up
it's like-
B team,
Yeah,
B team like a
it's-
motherfucker.
It was great. But I think, like, how else were they going to do it? Were they going to have that climactic scene in the penultimate episode, and then we were just going to have a coda episode? That would have been
Whack.
that would have felt very anticlimactic
Yeah.
and boring.
Everybody had expectations,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Going into this, and everybody had like their own idea of how they thought it should
That's the
end.
biggest thing. I think.
And
I think what is
that's-
upsetting people the most is my fan theory wasn't true,
Right.
which is weird thing to be up. Which means you missed the boat on this whole show.
See,
Totally.
that's not like my issues with it was not that. It's just the pacing and the writing in these last few seasons have been subpar.
No
And-
shit, yeah.
and that just kind of sucks. But
Yeah, totally.
at the same time, though, am I going to throw the baby out with the bathwater? Am I
No.
gonna say
It
like
was a
everything's
great
fucking
ride
gone?
to
No,
get there.
it was fun to get there. I remember, so like I came into Game of Thrones a little bit later than everybody else. I only
You
started
came in
watching
like
it
season 5, I think. Right?
6, I think actually.
Six?
Yeah,
Okay.
and I watched like the whole fucking series in like
I came in
a
on
month.
3.
What about you, Joe? When did you start watching?
The first season.
First.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
I had
a real
a
one.
friend of mine. We were watching shows on like Sunday. This was before I had kids, so like friends would come over on Sunday night.
Yeah.
And we would watch something. I don't even remember what it was we were watching before Game of Thrones, but we saw commercials for it. He was a book reader. You guys are gonna love this. This could be awesome. That'll be the next thing we watch on Sunday nights at 9
Right.
o'clock. And that's what happened.
Nice.
I think that like I think the big innovation of the show, if you want to say it's an innovation, or the strength of it was subverting expectations.
Yes.
But I think part and parcel of that is that it would introduce things, and then it would use those things in a way you didn't expect, and never use it in the way, like never eventually use it in the way you wanted. And I saw a lot of people that were upset that Jon wasn't the winner of the Game of Thrones in the end, but I mean, he kind of was.
think
I
he
feel
did
like he got what
okay,
he
yeah.
wanted, but people wanted him to be the king because it was so set up like that. No, because the whole role of that plot of who he really is
that
the
he's-
role it played was in the relationship between him and Dany, and what it did to her followers and her advisors. It had nothing. The
He's
point of that
Jeebus
was not that he
Creebus.
becomes
Yeah,
the
yeah,
king.
no, he's Jesus, but
He's
like
JC Chazet.
But this is a conversation I've had with Andy
Dummy
before
Jesus.
about
Yeah,
about
exactly. He's dumb Jesus.
The subversion of expectations in television is good, but when that becomes a plot device, that it weakens the effect of it, and that's what
Yeah.
started happening towards the later seasons where. You're like, okay, so what's going to be the big thing that's going to happen? And then people getting pissed. Well, nobody died. Well, okay, maybe nobody had to die.
Yeah, that was a big problem with
they
episode
shouldn't-
3. People were like, more people should have died.
So no, what was great about like the third season with the Red Wedding is like all these people died. So, but you shouldn't expect that every time. They should be subverting that.
The penultimate
expectation.
episode of every season does not need to be a bloodbath.
Exactly.
But even to the extent that it was like that, doing that makes a lot of sense 3 seasons into a 8 season show,
Right. Yeah.
But you can't do that 2 episodes before the end, because the whole reason the Red Wedding is so interesting, or Ned's execution is so interesting, is you go, wow, now what's the show going to be about?
Right, and then it
there is
completely
none of that at the
changes.
end of the
Yep.
show.
Right.
You can't subvert the whole show 2 episodes before the end and then there's no pins to set back up at that point. You don't have the time to set up a new norm.
So that was the thing that people were upset about, was that, like, all right, so of course Danny's going to make it to Westeros. Like I can call out these. That's not calling out bad writing. Bad writing is when you have a character that's been developed. I'm going back to Jamie because that really.
Why don't we okay, so we're doing a lot of spinning here.
Yeah, we are. Let's
take
find
a
a spot
second and let's
go
talk
for it.
about, why don't each one of us throw out something that you think could have been improved.
Yo,
Is that a way to do it?
You're like the mediator right here.
Give us two compliments and a criticism.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Okay. Can I,
Do you want to
can I
start?
I'll start.
Absolutely, Chris. I'm so glad that you're here with us today in
Okay.
this meeting. Are you good on water? Are you
I'm
fine?
all set on water.
We've got a
I got my
pitcher here.
vape.
You got your vape. Okay,
I'm good to go.
You're good on the pod.
Yeah.
The pod's good.
Pod's good.
What flavor are we working with?
We got
today?
menthol.
Menthol,
As per usual.
Very nice. Classic man.
So Jamie Lannister, good.
Sir
Great.
Jamie. Sir Jamie Lannister.
Sir
Put
Jamie
some respect
Lannister,
on
the
his name.
Kingslayer.
Come on.
Great hair.
Great, good hair.
Strong, strong jaw.
Strong jaw. Yes.
Very strong jaw.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Great sister fucker.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, he lays pipe like you wouldn't believe.
Just with his sister.
Brienne of Tarth.
Brienne of Tarth.
One hand.
Lady
One
Brienne.
hand.
Lee Brienne.
I like his golden hand. He killed the shit out of some Starks in the first couple
Did he
seasons.
slap anybody with that in the season?
If he didn't, that's a missed
He definitely
opportunity.
hit somebody with it,
He
right?
didn't use it enough. There was one fight in Dorne where the guy was about
grabbed
to
it,
like
yeah.
come down.
Oh,
with
and then
the
he
sword,
caught
and
the
he's, like,
sword. Fuck
caught
yeah.
it and he couldn't get the sword out, and he didn't use it enough though. I don't think.
I think that it was one of the most interesting arcs from start to finish until he said, "Man, I'm going back to Westeros," and then he flew there and like fucking tried to save Cersei. But I will say though, the dynamic between him and Brienne when he decides to leave was awesome, and the acting was amazing in that scene.
I don't think that any acting in the show
The acting's always fucking on point.
I think it was all
Except
good
for Dany,
throughout.
she's not a good actor.
I disagree. We've had this conversation
I think-
before.
I think,
there's somebody in that show who I
Amelia-
think is a horrible fucking actor.
It's
that?
Danny.
The dude that plays Littlefinger.
Well, he's not good in fucking anything.
He's bad at everything.
Okay. I don't
He
know
is
shit.
horrible.
Then.
He had a different accent like every 2 episodes, and I
Yeah,
don't
do you
buy
ever
this.
watch-
No,
Ever
that's
watched The
because
Wire?
he's,
That's what he
because
does.
he's
Oh,
fucking
God.
devious, my guy.
No, I do not buy that
He's so
excuse.
devious. He's fucking with your brain.
He was
dude.
terrible in The Wire as well.
He was bad in The Wire. Yeah.
He's a horrible actor.
He's just. Why doesn't he just
This
play
is
an
a
Irish
show
guy?
that's
Why
a-
does he never have
this-
to ever change his accent?
It's a show that's supposed to subvert expectations, so he cast the skeeziest looking guy to give the skeeziest accent and look incredibly skeezy to be the skeezy guy. It was always lame.
That's skeezy guy representation, Brendan. They need to be out there.
How do you think we could have fixed Jamie? Or actually, am I alone in this thinking that Jamie's ending arc and
Jamie-
the climax of his arc was
Once
bad?
again, I think it's something. If it was expanded, it would have been better.
Okay.
I don't
Jamie-
think him going back is a problem.
I don't think it's necessarily a problem. I did want to see him stay with Brienne, though.
Yeah.
But him going back and being a fuckhead.
He cock blocks Tormund.
Yeah, that's true.
He hits it and he fucking quits it.
I'm sorry. I don't think Tormund was getting in.
I
Tormund
give
is
Jamie
dick.
wasn't
If they
there.
gave him like 3 more seasons,
He could have gotten his dick hard again.
I
Are you
just
saying-
don't think Brienne was interested. That's
Oh,
all.
okay. I thought you were talking about he was so drunk. that he
Yeah, I
couldn't
don't
do
think
it.
Brienne was interested. She had a scowl on her face every time that guy came around, like a curled up upper
Yeah.
lip.
she was not happy.
Well, the joke was on her. She should have stayed with the giant fucker, not the sister fucker.
Yep.
I don't think him going back was problematic, honestly. I do think that the fight between him and Euron was comically stupid.
So dumb.
That was not a great
Bam
fight scene.
Margera.
Yeah.
Yeah, if Euron had to be killed, it could have happened. You know, he could have gotten blazed up by a dragon.
He could have gotten blazed up by the dragon. Could have
Yeah.
left that whole fight out and it would have been
Well,
perfectly fine.
Jamie suffered some mortal wounds and everything.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
there was no payoff to that. He just,
Just gets
a
crushed
castle
by-
fell on him
Yeah.
after that anyway. So it wasn't like the mortal wounds that he suffered in Euron's battle.
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, it's just that was kind of a dumb fight
Mattered.
scene that felt a little very contrived. He washes up on shore the minute Jamie's
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah.
I think there's like a thing that is referred to earlier in the series when Euron first comes in. He talks about the Greyjoy Rebellion and how when the breach happened and Jaime Lannister came in and killed like a couple of his brothers and like was just like flying all over the field being awesome.
Yeah.
Euron was like up there watching how awesome Jaime Lannister was, and there was like a maybe a feeling that he wanted to be Jaime Lannister, which
Right.
was why, like, when he stuck him,
Oh, okay, that
he
makes-
was like, I'm the man who killed Jaime Lannister. Like, that final, I'm the
Yeah.
rock star I always wanted to be.
I actually liked
I'm
Euron
Bam
as a
Margera.
character more, like for the most part, a lot. I just felt like that was a lame.
I
ending
did
for
I
it.
did when he first initially came into the show, and then he just became a fucking caricature.
He did a little bit, but I was
And-
okay with it because by the point that he was doing that in the show, most of the comedic value of the show had been long gone.
Yeah.
So I was okay with like having one goofball left.
Yeah, because Tyrion had gotten like very serious and all that shit.
Yeah.
I think it would have been a fitting end for Euron if he, right before he tries to kill Jaime, if he invented the skateboard and did the world's first kickflip. That would be dope as fuck. All right, Joe, do you have any compliments and criticisms?
I think the Long Night episode was amazing.
Okay, yeah.
I watched it a bunch of times. I mean, I get the obvious it was too dark.
I couldn't see shit.
And it was very difficult to see. Like, I mean, you know, obviously I think you want it to be visible, like, you know, and you want it to be, I mean, it's a show.
As
you
far
want
as
it
a visual medium
Yeah,
goes.
you want it to be visible. You want it to, you know, be a little bit better in that respect. But, like, the scope of that episode
was huge.
was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the music, when the last 9-10 minutes of the episode, like once Sansa pulled the knife out in the crypt, and then like the slow like piano started to play and build up until
Yeah.
Arya came in and
Yeah.
stuck the Night King, like that shit was
Spoilers.
amazing.
Sorry.
To me, hey, we get the spoiler alert. Right?
Yeah.
I didn't,
Thanks,
I didn't
Megan.
know that happened.
Yeah.
I mean, all these people, like every character in that battle had their own arc, had their own storyline, like just in the battle alone.
Yeah.
Like, I just thought that episode was amazing, despite the visual impairment of
Yeah.
of that.
I think with that though too, there was a lot of plot armor going on in that episode.
Yes.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Because they needed to keep these characters
Yeah.
around to do more stuff later.
Yeah,
I think that episode suffered from overinflated expectations. I think a lot of people had this idea that there was a lot more to like the Night King and stuff than there ever was, and I think that's kind of their fault for thinking that. I always thought he was
I don't
going to turn
know.
out to be it was going to be a pretty one-dimensional, like stoic, simple evil.
he's just bad, right?
Yeah, and
he
people
just
thought,
wants to kill everybody.
oh, it's going to turn out he's Bran, and there's going to be all this, like, there's going to be a big reveal that there's, like, more to it, and who he is important, and I never thought that that was the case, so I was not disappointed with the way that it turned out.
I mean, I wish we knew more about like what the
there's
what the
definitely
big crux
more
was
there.
between
Yeah.
the White Walkers and the Three-Eyed Raven. As
Yeah,
it,
what all that
They-
shit was
they
about.
They built up that antagonist over the course of the entire show.
The whole show is basically supposed to be building toward
Yeah,
it.
But
Yeah.
it was always a more or less a faceless, like, just evil. It was a force of that
Okay,
that
so-
villain is a force of nature.
Yes, that is true.
That is Twister. Like you
he's-
don't expect at the end the Twister gives you a soliloquy about why it's destroying
Yeah,
houses.
but then don't have Twister show up in every other episode.
Yeah.
like
he
in
really
the background.
didn't show up that much though.
He
He
was
did the
in a
rock
lot of
thing where
stuff,
he
man.
opened. He said, "Are you not entertained?"
Yeah.
And then all the
But he did
dead
that
rows.
during a big fight scene, like with him. It's not like they were like constantly cutting to him,
there-
like implying
yeah,
there was
there-
going to
there
be
was- there
something.
was stuff
The
throughout
only
the
thing I'm upset
series
about is
where-
no ice spiders, but still,
Okay.
ice
That would've been
spiders. Yeah,
awesome.
those are tight. In
for
the
the
book.
same reason John couldn't pet ghosts.
yeah,
they couldn't have ice.
couldn't have ice
spiders.
spiders.
John
It
Pet
would have
Ghost.
taken too long in CGI.
They did it in Wild.
Did you not see the last episode?
Oh no! I know
Spoilers.
that. I know that John ends up petting ghosts, but when everybody flipped out about John,
Couldn't they
not
just-
petting
we all know
ghosts-
they added that after the criticism in the third episode.
So one thing that I'll say about the Long Night, the Battle of Winterfell, all that, and the Night King in general, just as obligatory, guys. I've read the books.
Yep.
The Night King, I think, will have more of a story in the books.
Well, the
than he
Night
is-
King in the books is not that guy.
right.
The Night King in the books is a different individual.
Also, he's not
than
called
leader
the
of
Night King in the books.
No, there is a Night King in the book,
but he's
he's
not
a-
called the.
but there
like,
is. It's a different.
I think he's
like
called the Night's King.
Yeah, the
and
Night's
he's
King is a-
former Lord Commander of the Wall.
yeah, it's a
of
separate
the Night's
thing.
Watch.
And then in this, but it's been implied that like they merged kind of a couple of different ideas
Right.
into him in the show, and so how that's going to play out in the book is probably going to be totally differently. But it's a nameless, faceless evil. It's not important. It's a force of nature that comes in and
I'm
wrecks
not,
you.
I'm not behind that at all. Because then they shouldn't have built it up. It should just be in the shadows the entire time. Not have like
They showed the
shit
monster a little bit too much.
If you're not going to
that's
show
your
the monster
plan.
that much, then you gotta explain a little bit more of it.
I don't think so. George R. R. Martin has on record said he believes that if you divulge too much how the magic works, it takes the magic out of it. There's a reason that there is not really a great there's not like a point by point explanation of why Dany was able to hatch the dragons. It's blood magic.
That's
blood
That's
magic.
a different point entirely.
I don't think it is, because to me it's the same as harping on like, oh, but we need an explanation for why Dany was able to do this. I need to know how this blood magic works exactly. No, it's fucking blood magic. It's crazy and it's unpredictable and it's chaotic, and that's
Agree
just
to
the way it
disagree.
works.
So outside of that with the Dark Knight, the long night, the Dark Knight.
Dark Knight
I'm
Rises.
Batman.
Who was
I'm the
Batman?
Night King.
Who was Batman in the show?
Who was Batman? It was Christian Bale.
No.
It was
On
it
the
was
show, which
fucking
person
Gendry.
is which Gendry's not Batman. Arya's
Gendry
Batman
looks
on the
like
show.
Christian
It's
Bale.
Arya.
Fight me.
Arya's definitely.
Arya's Batman.
Arya's
But
Batman.
what's your
Yeah.
criticism, if that's your point of this is the thing you hold up the most, then what's your critique?
Oh, my critique. I think we touched on this before. They could have had more episodes if they
Yeah.
were going to if they were going to have full seasons the way that they had previously leading up to the last two seasons. We could have had just like a little bit more gradual lead up to ultimately the same beats and the same plot points that we ended up having.
Yeah.
I think that would have worked fine. I mean, we would have had maybe more of a motivation to see Jaime and Euron fight each other.
Yeah, I think that we were really just one midway event between Dany's thing, like totally being 100%, and it being a little like, you know what the feeling I got from it is? Like when I'm reading a book and I get like halfway through it and I'm loving it so much that I sit down and finish the rest in one night.
Yeah.
And then I'm kind of like, well, that was kind of a mistake. Because now it feels like I didn't really think
Savor
about and
it.
appreciate the rest of the book that much. And now I got to like maybe go through it again to really pick everything up. That's what it feels like I did.
It's the new conundrum, right?
Yeah.
The watching
binge-
something
the binge,
over
right.
a period of time or binge watching it, right?
Yeah. And it feels like I binge watched this season because it was over so goddamn fast.
How does the
remember-
Night King poop?
He poops out icicles.
Okay, thank you.
He eats icicles, poops out icicles.
Yeah, it's
Perfect.
simple.
The
No
Night
big deal.
King, as I explained, had to be stabbed with Valyrian steel in the same place that the dragon glass, he was stabbed
Yes.
by the dragon
Right.
glass. And he's wearing a crop top
that's
armored
convenient.
suit that exposes the only area that he can't be stabbed in.
Because he's a
Or killed.
fucking OG, dude. And he's flirty.
He's flaunting it.
I think he's saying, come get it, right?
Yeah. Come get some. I'm
Come
the
get it.
Rock.
So another thing I wanted to ask you guys, if this bothered you, because it bothered me a little bit, and I've gotten over it since. I thought all the Dothraki died in the Long Night.
Yeah.
They kind of made it seem
It was
like
poorly communicated that was
Yeah.
not the case. But you really
wasn't
were,
communicated
you were,
at
well,
all.
You were only watching one front in
Yeah.
that fight. They established that there's three fronts, and you really mainly only watch one of the fronts, but they never really communicated
the
well.
way they show it is, here's all the Dothraki. All
Why?
of their sabers are fucking lit on fire, and then you have one of the coolest fucking sequences
Yes.
I've ever seen in a show where you see boop, 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 and they're all extinguished. And you're like, okay, I guess Dothrakis don't exist
The
anymore.
best part about that is that she shows up and you're like, oh yeah, it's fucking on. Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that sucks.
Yeah,
That was-
the idea after that though was that the Dothraki were now an extinct race,
Yeah,
and that
right.
they're not here anymore. And then in this most recent episode, in the finale,
Just like, we're
you
out
have
here.
you have another 10,000
Khalasar.
unsullied, and then they're all lined up in rows, and then you have like these Dothraki cloud, which is just like milling around.
I think
Looks
it's
like
just,
there's thousands of them,
The
so-
I think the show just poorly communicated that wasn't all the Dothraki. Because I'm sure, because if you watch earlier, there's lots of shots that show there are obviously far more Dothraki than that.
Yeah.
But then the show, like, it gives you this emotional weight as though they've all been wiped out.
They had the one big scene where you see like, okay, so that's it. That's the Dothraki.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
So, like, in retrospect, I understand that it's not supposed to be all the Dothraki, but the show communicated that so poorly.
I think that there's a lot of stuff on this show where it's like, yes, if you really sit there and think about it, you can piece it together and put it together, but that's not how a TV show should be. It should be more...
Well, that's how Lost should be. But
Yeah.
Well, Lost was giving you puzzle pieces to put together.
Yeah. And then it turned out it didn't. There was made no sense in the end.
Well,
Or that you're still left holding all these puzzle pieces and you're like, there's nowhere to go with these ones.
Did you know-
I guess it doesn't matter what happened in that like canoe shootout or the Whispers. Like I think they explained
Smoke
whatever.
monster.
None of it
in the
makes
end,
sense.
did you know that, and this might be a nice parallel between Lost and Game of Thrones, is that the makers of Lost fucking hated the show, wanted to quit, and they were on a 3-episode termination. At any point, the producers of this or the network could say, "Hey, it's over in 3 episodes. Sum it up in 3 episodes," which is why they kind of had that like falling forward kind of feeling to it. As far as I've been told on other podcasts,
They very clearly, they more or less admitted after the fact that they didn't know where the show was going to go.
Yeah.
It was the 3rd season when they were on the other island and like they had the Nikki and Paolo episode and they had no idea what was going on. Jack's tattoos, and then they negotiated a end game. 3 more seasons. We'll finish this in this many episodes over 3 seasons.
Right.
And then they were able to start crafting towards the end, with a purpose instead of like spinning the wheels.
Yeah, unfortunately, they kind of didn't.
Yeah, they left a lot of stuff.
My understanding from the parts I've been able to piece together as a gigantic Lost fan was a lot of what they had thought they were going to do at the end game hinged on Echo, and he quit the show.
Is that right?
And they never really figured out how to put the pieces
Yeah,
back
that's
together.
the real fucking twist, dude.
Yeah, it was like
Negotiate your contracts better.
the role that Locke plays in the last season was probably going to go to Echo's character.
And I think Walt had a bigger future on Lost.
Yeah, but then it didn't make sense.
The actor just like sprouted and grew up too fast, and
that's interesting. So the same thing kind of happened in Game of Thrones. You had these characters age faster than the show was really happening,
right?
But it still ended up working.
That's why Robert Aaron, when he showed up at the
dude,
console, was full on hunkster, dude. Full on hunkster, dude. The milk made him strong.
But the weirdest thing was, I didn't even really realize this until I had read it recently. Was the whole like Robb Stark like just pissing off on that marriage he had committed to is the thing that makes a lot more sense when you realize the character's supposed to be like 16 years old.
Yes.
Like, oh yeah, that is something a dumbass 16-year-old would do, more so than a guy that you think is like in his mid-20s.
He needed to cross that bridge, man. He's like, I'll say anything to cross that bridge right now.
Okay, do you have a criticism and a compliment and all that, Brendan?
Yeah, so my are we just talking about like the last season?
Whatever
here,
you feel,
dude.
It's up to you, dog.
So my criticism, I'll start with then, is we really needed one event in between, before Danny goes nuts. Her arc was clearly going in this direction.
Definitely.
We were like 75% of the way there. I feel like there were 3 directions they could go. And I think they picked the worst of the 3. And the 3 were, she just fucking incinerates everybody as though we had earned our whole way here.
Right.
To this point in the story. We have her, we stagger it out and actually try to get there in a little bit better of a way.
Right.
Or the third option, which I think would have probably been the best option given what they were doing with the show, tone it back a hair. Have her just show disregard for the civilians while trying to wipe out all the soldiers, even though they had surrendered.
Instead of just going
going
beast
fucking
mode.
like street by street, like swiping down everybody. If she had just stopped and said, if at that moment she had just gone through and all those soldiers that had just surrendered, she just goes down the line and then you see her just take out a bunch of civilians, and then she goes to the Red Keep and it falls over on a bunch of civilians. Like, I think you would have gotten the same point across. And you could have shown a similar level of destruction. You didn't need half an hour of her going like street by street. And it would have felt like they earned their way there. There still would have been the whiners who thought she was like the good guy for 7.5 seasons, who are fucking sociopaths. Because if you watched all the shit she did and you thought, this is a person who has everybody else's best interest in mind,
yeah,
you like really, really missed the boat.
I think that Tyrion, like, he was more or less speaking directly to these dipshits when he was talking to Jon Snow, and he's like, when he killed the slavers at Marine, they were bad men, so it was okay. And when he killed these people, they were bad men, so that was okay. And it's like literally like talking to those people, and then also talking to U.S. foreign policy directly.
Yeah. Well, the one that always stuck with me was when she burned all the Dothraki dudes alive.
Yeah, for no fucking reason.
It's not like they were slavers. necessarily. They were like super bad guys. We knew that these were super bad guys leading to the Dothraki.
Well, she was imprisoned there. And
She was imprisoned by
gonna
them.
Yeah, she was going to be like imprisoned in that group of
The
former
Dosh
Khaleesi-
Colleen.
Yeah.
Former.
So, yeah, they're probably not great guys, but she just fucking like burns them all and takes it over. And that was pretty much a power grab. And it wasn't necessarily like the worst thing in the world to do, but it showed a willingness to just do whatever to get power.
It served the writer's function of her adding to her army an entire Dothraki army to bring to
Right.
Westeros to
Right.
fight everybody.
And that's kind of that's what I want to say as my positive thing for the story is that I think they were doing a great job of getting her to the go nuts point.
Yes.
Yes, they skipped 20% of it towards the end, but I'm just amazed that there were so many people that thought this was the hero of the story and like she was going to come and just liberate everybody, and that was how the show was going to end.
I really thought that she was going to lose her mind more about Jon having more of a claim to the throne and like go at Jon like directly.
Well, 'cause she
instead of
even-
this like little dance around, she's my queen,
Kiss me weird.
Like, I don't want it, and like he could have said that the whole
Yeah.
time. And let's say everybody finds out, you know, Varys' letters get out, and everybody in Westeros finds out that Jon is who he is.
That was kind of just like a shit away little plot point. That was a little weird.
right. But if it were not, if it had gotten out and everybody in the
Yeah.
whole country knew that he was Aegon Targaryen and the next or the
The heir to
rightful
the
heir,
throne. Yeah.
at that point, yeah, now she can go directly at Jon to like, you know, take him out to become the true heir or whatever. And,
Yeah.
like, that's more of a conflict than I feel like we got. Like it was just she was on the dragon. The fight was over. The bells were ringing. She looked at the Red Keep, and it was like in my mind she's gonna go flame up the Red Keep. And I was shocked when she just started flaming the city. I was like, wait, that wasn't the thing that made you like lose your mind. Like,
Yeah,
you
it
looked
didn't
at the
even
Red
make
Keep.
sense with the way the creators explained it when they were like, she decided to make it personal. What?
Yeah.
Against who? And
Yeah.
then there were people talking about, oh, well, she was confused by how gray things were in Westeros compared to where there were just slavers and slaves before. Like, it doesn't.
Hey,
Just
at the end of the
doesn't
day, what it was is let's make her do something outlandishly like what's it called, like mustache twisting evil.
Yeah, like war crime level.
Yeah, so that when Jon Snow kills her, that we can wrap that plot line up conventionally.
Yeah, I
They
don't
knew-
think
they knew where
need
they
to go
wanted
that
to
far.
get, and they didn't have enough time to get there.
Yeah, exactly.
So they
Let's
just
just-
stuffed everything in and
Yep.
gave it enough of reasoning
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
make those things.
Because
happen.
that's-
after she did that, like, yeah, no, okay. After watching that episode, I'm like, all right, she's dying next episode. There's no way.
for sure.
Either she's dying or literally everybody else is gonna
That's
die.
the other thing I want to give the show points for. My other positive is I thought the climactic scene was perfect. The scene where she walks into the throne room, she never sits down, which is my favorite part of the scene, is that she never actually gets to sit on the throne.
Yeah.
And then John comes in. I genuinely did not know who the fuck was going to kill who. I knew one of them was going to stab the other one.
I actually had thought that she might have killed John.
Yeah,
in that
I did not
moment.
know who was going to stab who. His when he, I think that what she says before he finally decides to kill her was perfect. And I thought that the whole sequence with Drogon was great. It was perfect.
What?
I
Yep,
disagree.
loved it. Thought it was
You
great.
liked the dragon understanding symbolism and
Yeah.
What do you
burning
mean
the
the dragon understands symbolism?
Why wouldn't he kill John?
Because
Why the
Jon is a
fuck would he-
Targaryen. He's not going to kill Jon.
I
The
have
dragons.
to,
This is something that shows that a poor job of communicating.
Either
The
the
dragons
dragon-
are not biological creatures. They are magical
they are
in
magical.
nature.
Yes.
Either the dragon is a genius or the dragon is an idiot. And
Yeah.
it
The
works
dragon-
out, it works out both ways depending on how you want to view it. Like if the dragon's a genius, he came in and realized the throne is what killed her, really, not
Yeah, yeah,
Jon.
yeah.
And I want to take out.
Yeah,
the throne.
I'm gonna break the wheel, God.
Well, there's a couple different things about the dragon. One, there is no indication that the dragons could very well have near human levels of intelligence. For all we
There's
know.
no indication that they do.
But there's
in-
no indication that they don't. They are.
There's no indication.
They are dragons. They don't exist in the real world.
I don't.
The dragons.
Dolphins
okay.
have near human levels of
Okay.
intelligence.
But there was never a
Dolphins
point
are
in the
also
series
rapists.
where they showed the dragons to have any type of intelligence above being told to burn stuff. 'Cause
In
that's all they
the-
do
that's
in the
really
show.
that's not. I don't think that's really true.
No, man. There's nothing to back that up.
So
though.
putting aside even the intelligence thing, the dragons are not just animals that exist fictionally. the dragons are magical in nature with a tie to the Targaryens.
Yes.
So the idea that
That's
he would
definitely
instinctively know not to kill Jon because he knows his bloodline is 100%
He
in line with
recognized
the
Jon
show.
as a Targaryen
Yeah.
in Dragonstone a couple of seasons ago,
but-
when
Yeah.
like Jon was able to pet his nose.
But
and
then,
Yeah.
but then he becomes a freshman movie what's it called student and goes, that symbol is I need to destroy that now.
Well, that's the only thing in the room to destroy.
Here's
Everything
what
else in the room is gone.
This is
it
how
was, it was
okay.
contrived.
It
was contrived.
This is how you make that scene better. I think that is something that we can actually talk about as a way to rewrite it to make it actually make sense. The way that it should have gone was the dragon fucking notices Dany's dead, nuzzled it with his nose. Couldn't do that for Ghost in episode 3, but whatever. Okay, we'll let that go. Anyway, the dragon realizes Dany's dead. He's pissed off. He doesn't kill Jon Targaryen shit, whatever. But what he should have done is just fucking freaked out, blew up everything in the area, and not do the like focus fire. I'm gonna fuck up this throne. Like he should have just, because they really do like a variable intensity of dragon fire. Like he had to like focus on the throne for like 10 seconds.
What was the point of him completely missing the throne with the first fire blast and then hitting it with the second one?
I thought it was established that he's just blind rage shooting fire off, and then he
what I
hits
think
the
he
throne.
should have
So he didn't
contrived.
intentionally destroy the symbol.
Yeah.
No, I think that the symbol was a written concept of the
Certainly.
symbolism of it. I don't think the dragon was going like fuck the throne. I think that it was as simple as he went into a rage. He starts breathing fire randomly. He hits something that he's actually doing damage to. There's only one thing in there to do damage
He's like,
to.
I want to destroy something. This
that-
is the thing that's in
So
front
it
of
was
me.
a
there's
dragon
nothing else in the
punching
room.
holes in drywall.
I
He
mean,
saw
what
it
else
and
is
he
he gonna
saw
do?
that's drywall. I'm mad at my mom.
Even
I'm punching it.
Even if that's the way that was written, or the idea, that's not the way it was written.
No, it's
There
not.
wasn't the symbolism behind it. It was him destroying the throne because that's what destroyed his mother, and that was contrived as fuck.
Right,
Yeah.
but symbolism. I don't really have a problem with things being contrived
That was
necessarily,
so
but
contrived. It was
dude, that's symbolism is
dumb.
first of all, symbolism is always contrived. That's the nature of symbolism.
Okay. All right. Ding, ding, ding.
But whenever you have symbolism,
Yeah, play that brothel music again.
whenever you have symbolism of that nature, it's not done because the characters decide to do something that shows the audience symbolism. It's just done, and then we take the symbolism away from it.
I still think that what it should have been was he just went bug shit
Yeah.
and just fucking blew the throne off there with like no big deal. Didn't any non-specifically like it didn't have to be that he was fucking melting the throne down in
it
front
melts
of it.
down, and then once it's melted down, he
Because
flies
the
away.
dragon
It was-
had the ability to like fucking blow up the castle like no problem, like all that shit.
I'll tell you what would have pulled me over to your complaints about it would be if in the end then
dragon
they were like,
talked.
you know what, there's not going to be any king anymore. There's no throne anymore. Like, yeah, then it would feel a little forced, but they still went forward with well, now we have king. He's got his own throne. It's a wheelchair. Okay.
Oh jeez, I didn't even think about that.
Or are we going to talk about that? Because that's who won the Game of Thrones,
Bran
man.
as king makes no fucking sense. Fuck you. I will never accept anybody. There's no
it's really-
goddamn. This is where I think the show and the book. I mean, obviously the show and the book diverge, but this is where the show and the book diverge because the show breaks its own logic with Bran becoming king because Bran is the three-eyed raven, which in the books is the three-eyed crow. Oh yeah, I read the books. I'm that guy. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is Bran literally for the entire season is like, I'm not Bran. Bran who? Bran? You little punk bitch. Look at me. I can see into the future. I'm the fucking three-eyed crow raven.
But in the books, it's not. See, I think this is another thing the show poorly communicated. In the books, it's not that now he's the three-eyed dude, and therefore Bran does not exist anymore. He was never a person. He has now been possessed and supplanted by something. It's more complex in the book.
In the book, he is not going to be moving around. I don't think he is basically growing into the tree like the guy that he.
But in the book,
other guy.
the status of being the three-eyed crow or the three-eyed raven is a more complicated thing than it is in the show, where they basically turned it into he is now possessed by this different consciousness almost.
Right.
And so that was, I think that's partially because I think it would be very difficult to portray that in the show because it's not told in the first person perspective like the book is.
Yeah. I mean, here's one of the big differences between the show and the book. The three-eyed raven shit's not boring in the book. It's super boring on the show. It like the only thing that him being the three-eyed raven accomplished on the show was confirming to the audience their suspicions that Jon is a Targaryen and born of not Viserys, whoever.
Which only really served to have an internal struggle between Jon and Daenerys.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And not really have any ramifications into
It
like,
really
being on
didn't
the Iron
because
Throne.
they're hyping it up like it's like this thing where, you know, like there's going to be this war, because that could have been a plot point that they did instead, where there's a war for the actual throne between Jon and Daenerys, and you have Daenerys' forces versus Jon's forces, or that's mounting, and then Jon lays down his life to do that or something like that because he's JC Chazet. You know, it's one of those things.
Shazay.
He's a Backstreet Boys.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but I just think that okay, so if we can just jump into my compliments and criticisms part, I think that the show did a very good job of trying to communicate and keeping plot threads straight that I think are very difficult to communicate in a show. Like, they made everyone knew about the prophecies who watched the show, which I was not expecting to be a thing. I was expecting the show to just be like, fuck the prophecies, whatever. My criticism is they set up the prophecies and they meant nothing.
Yeah.
They meant nothing on the show in general. Because the whole Azor Ahai thing is that he's the guy that's going to end the long winter. He's going to end the night, the long night. Okay, and Jon didn't do it. It was Arya. Mm-hmm. Arya didn't plunge a fucking sword into her lover, which is the actual prophecy. That's what they say on the show as well. That's what Azor Ahai does. He forges a sword a couple times, it doesn't work. Then he finally forges it by plunging it into his lover's heart. And that's what did it. And it should have been Jon kills Daenerys before the long night fight, and then he's got this fucking rad ass, cool lightsaber.
I think it's just what I was saying before, though. They introduce a prophecy, not because the prophecy is going to get fulfilled, which is what you expect, but because of the role the prophecy plays in making people act a certain way.
That's fair, I guess.
Just like you introduced Jon's parentage, not because it means Jon's going to be king.
The entire character of Stannis is a person who thought that he was the person
for sure.
in the prophecy.
No, I get that. But I just think that, like, they didn't even do that, though. Because they didn't... It's not like Jon was walking around like, I'm Azor Ahai, and Melisandre was like, he's Azor Ahai.
But that shit dropped off the face of the earth once the characters that really were following it went away. As you would expect.
I don't know.
Jon did not expect that he was going to fulfill the prophecy, so I'm not surprised he wasn't walking around.
There's a little bit easier way to look at it. It was a hard plot point and thread to follow in a show, and they just didn't go with it.
Yeah.
I would be really surprised if in the books George R. R. Martin fulfills a prophecy cleanly. Like,
I don't think it'll be
cleanly, but it'll at least probably follow it a little.
I think the important thing about those prophecies is how they made Stannis act.
Right.
What they caused Melisandre to do.
Right.
Like, I don't think that the important part of that prophecy is that we will all find out in the end that Jon really fulfills it. Or,
they fulfilled one prophecy, though. We got the Clegane Bowl. That was pretty sweet.
Clegane Bowl? Yeah.
That was pretty sweet. I
Good tribe, though.
They didn't have...
Yeah, it was super contrived, but it wasn't a fucking dragon melting a goddamn...
It was a Dark Soul. It was a Dark Souls.
Yeah, it was a
scene.
Dark Souls fight, man. You should have liked that shit. It was great.
It was tight. I didn't like the way that Gregor looked. I thought they could have worked on...
cheesy.
They could have worked on his character.
It was a little
like
Day of the Dead.
Yeah.
He looked like Varys would have looked if Varys had been poisoned and thrown into the sea, and then they pulled him out like a week later. That's what the mountain looked like.
I guess they probably couldn't get half Thor Bjornsson in there again. Yeah. They're like, nah.
Did you hear that it took them from midnight to 8 o'clock in the morning to put him in his makeup? Wow. And then they shot 10-hour days for like 10 days or 11 days or something like that.
So he was on drugs.
Have you seen a picture of that dude and his wife?
Yeah, his wife can probably wear him as a suit, like a really baggy
easily.
suit.
She's like 5'2", and he's like 6'10".
Damn.
He sells water. Oh, I know he does SodaStream.
Does he do SodaStream?
Yeah, that's like
I know he
his
picks
big
up
thing.
big boulders too. That's his thing.
That is a big thing.
Yeah, there's like a whole series of commercials I watched the other day where it's him like just beating up little men because they're using bottled water and they should be using SodaStreams.
Tight.
It's pretty good.
Another thing that
they
I
should probably be using whatever they say.
Yeah, exactly.
One thing that I have to say, like, just to fucking put a cap on the book versus the show shit, is that there's so many missed opportunities for really cool shit that happens in the book that just isn't addressed at all in the show.
Lady Stoneheart?
Lady Stoneheart is Catelyn Stark is Lady Stoneheart. She goes around fucking murking people. Do you know how easy of a B plot that is to make? You put fucking the actress in some makeup and she just slices a couple throats.
My read of that, from what I've read about why they didn't include that, was not really that they felt they didn't have the time, but that they were afraid that in the show it would feel like Resurrection was being overused.
Certainly, I get
Because
that.
the show is just shorter than the book.
And I also think they wanted Arya to be the one to get revenge for the Starks on the phrase.
Certainly.
Yeah.
That's a little bit easier, like, to digest, too.
Yeah. The other thing...
Although that was a little rushed. Everybody always talks about that. I really wish that we had seen her, like, bake that pie.
Yeah.
The reveal was cool, but it was a little... And that was the only time she ever really used the faceless thing.
I like
And
the
honest-
callback to the pie, though, when she sees hot pie in the tavern. She said, "This is really good pie." And he explains how he made the pie. She's like, "I didn't do that."
I think that... Okay, so then there's other shit, like all the Starks have the ability to warg. And that's a thing that's not addressed in the show at all. It's just Bran, the most boring character.
Well, I think that they wanted to... I do think that they wanted to...
They wanted to contain
mitigate-
powers.
Yeah.
But one of the things that the book is all about is bloodlines. And that's the important thing. And so the Stark bloodline gives you that warging power. The
Classy
Targaryen...
pick.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
It's
It's,
a
your
classic.
armor class. And
Yeah.
shit. Not your armor class. Your Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I mean, fucking, the Starks are able to warg. They have a connection with the North. They're more powerful in the North. Yada yada yada. Targaryens have a connection with dragons. Lannisters are bastards.
Just assholes.
I did love... That reminds me, one of my favorite parts of this... of the whole entire show was Braun's thing about how do you think you guys got there?
Oh,
you
yeah.
were all
Like
scoundrels or whatever.
Yeah,
that
it's some sellsword that took somebody else's stuff.
Every
and-
first lord
Yeah.
and first nobleman of a family or a
Yeah.
house was some guy who just like killed everybody and took the land.
yeah, which is such a great point because it's 100% accurate.
Well, that's a thing that I think that's okay. That's one of my big compliments of the show for this season and in general is that they do show like socio-political strife and how it actually works. I think that Daenerys going bug shit on King's Landing was good because you finally see that when she's murdering people en masse, it's not pretty. It's not fucking cute.
Yeah, it was very Saving Private Ryan like.
Yeah.
It was, I really that episode was riveting for all the holes with like it was quick they got there and stuff like that and like it was great, dude. When Grey Worm like freaks out and throws the spear in the dude's back, that was one of the best moments in the whole series.
I will say this for that episode when she starts flaming people up and Grey Worm starts killing Lannister army, and then all of a sudden you see like the people running around and you see Lannister soldiers trying to help people. It was really amazing how they could flip a switch and a character that you loved like Grey Worm for so many seasons, like all of a sudden just like fuck that dude, or like now I don't care if he gets killed. Like it happened in a split second.
I feel like that was a classic.
Even though you
Game
knew
of
what his
Thrones.
motivation was because he was sad that
Missandei. Yeah, and I think that's like that was their classic Game of Thrones subverting expectations moment, and it didn't come from killing main characters or anything that became like commodified like that. It was through being like, hey, guess what? This person that you thought this way about, they're actually capable of this, and I thought that was tight.
I think that one of the big missed opportunities this season was Missandei being captured and then executed so quickly. I would have loved to seen 2 episodes of like Cersei talking to her, like, and her finding out like more about Daenerys through talking to Missandei.
That would be interesting,
and like
yeah.
realizing like, oh, I'm like kind of fucked here. Like she actually inspires people. Like that was because Cersei did nothing except bang Euron this season,
Hell
and it
yeah.
was really disappointing.
She stood
and
in a
blunted
window
it.
and drank a lot.
Yeah, and
That was
really,
tight too. She was having the best season out of everybody there.
But it really
She got
blunted,
crushed
like-
by stones. Like that's probably pretty brief.
I
death.
thought that blunted like what like the ending for her was that like, okay, it's been 2 years. I watch her do nothing for this season and then die. And it was a little short trip for a character that is so much fun to watch. And you had a great opportunity for her to interact with a character that we've known for a long time.
Right.
And we've
Little
never seen her
crossover
interact with.
moment.
It would have been a real old school callback to when characters were thrown together that you wouldn't expect, and then they end up having like a very meaningful,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
like Brienne and Jamie, or like the Hound and Arya.
Tyrion and John.
Yeah, because
Like all
especially-
these characters that
Jamie and Braun.
If
Jamie
Missandei
and
my
and
favorite.
Cersei had a thing, like you're saying, like
Right,
that
even-
would have been like a like it would in your mind you think that's a mismatch, but it would have been a really cool.
It would have been a
like,
great way for
matchup.
Cersei to see inside Dany's head because we never got any of that.
Right.
And it would be hard to pull off a situation where they're going to have a long conversation. And so a situation where where Cersei gets to actually have a long conversation with a follower of Dany's
Right.
about why she and one of her most ardent supporters. It would have been really interesting because another thing is that with Cersei is a significant part of the show the whole time has been what's going on in King's Landing. How do the people of King's Landing feel about what's going on and everything? Nowhere this season.
Right.
Just
That's
what
true.
like how Cersei is
I mean,
doing in King's Landing was important.
They threw duty on her.
Yeah,
they made her naked and threw duty
Like,
on her, and
du-
she's just chilling now.
Yeah, and she's just hanging out and is the city being run well?
She was
What's going
capable
on?
of obviously capable of being like super vicious, and there was a shot in this the 5th episode where Daenerys torches King's Landing, where she's standing in like the window and she's just watching the dragon go up and down these
Yeah.
streets, and
Yeah.
Yep.
and like the right before she gets ushered out of there, she's looking at it, and I feel like what's going through her mind at that point is, wow, this person is capable of so much more than I ever would have thought. Like, this person is matching, or even surpassing my own cruelty and my own viciousness right now.
Right.
Well, she probably. I mean, if her past statements and everything are any guide, Cersei's attitude would be, "Your empathy is your weakness," and this is clearly a person who thinks they're going to come free people and stuff. But then that's that missed opportunity with Missandei, because she would have gotten a deeper look at no, Dany's not really necessarily coming to just free people. This is more complicated.
How often did Cersei, when she got fired up, say, "I will burn your cities to the ground"? She may have said it 15 times over
Right.
the course of the
Right.
entire series, right?
And she blew up one part
And
of the
she
city.
blew up one part of the city, but she actually watched somebody burn a city to the ground.
Yeah.
And whenever she was fired up, it was usually about her children, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And in Daenerys' case, it was just, I don't know.
That whole thing leading up to
Divine
the
right
Sept,
or something like
the
that.
whole thing leading up to the Sept blowing up is my favorite sequence in the entire show.
I think it was just wanting to kill.
Tommen going out the window was
Yeah, that was tight.
Yeah.
that moment was the only thing that I enjoyed more was watching Joffrey die.
Yeah.
I remember he falls and I remember thinking to myself, "This is it. Savor this moment because you're only going to get to experience this the first time, one time." If I could wipe anything from my memory to experience it one time again, anything in life, it's Joffrey dying.
Yeah, actually, you know what? That's a good point. Maybe we can come to a conclusion here. Let's talk about our favorite moments in the show. Whole show. Favorite moments. Is yours Joffrey dying?
My favorite moment is probably the set
the
blowing up Tom and going out the window.
Oh, okay. So
that sequence. I know it's long, but so it's not really a moment. But
That's
that
fine.
sequence was, I thought, just unbelievable cinematography. The way it was paced, the music. It reminds me a lot of the way that the Battle for Winterfell ended, which would probably be my second favorite sequence. I love the final 1 minute of that whole sequence.
Yeah.
But just that whole thing with the set blowing up and Marjorie realizing at the last second
She's
and being like,
fucked.
"No, we gotta get the fuck out of here!" And everybody's like, "Shut up!"
They're like, "Shut up! Go back to How I Met Your Mother."
Was she an How I Met Your Mother?
I think so, right?
I have no
She
idea.
was Lily, right? She was Jason Segel's wife. I'm pretty sure.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. I think she's
Is that somebody else?
Yeah.
probably.
I don't know if it is. Anyway,
Regardless, what was your favorite, And?
my favorite is the Battle of Winterfell. Battle of Winterfell, or not Winterfell, Battle of the Bastards.
Yeah.
Battle of the Bastards is probably the best cinematography in the entire show.
That one long shot.
Just the whole fucking sequence. Really, my
Love
favorite
those long shots.
My favorite
Yes.
shot in that entire thing is when it's Jon. He's got the sword. They're coming at him, and then fucking. Oh no! When they're all closed in, they're all fucking. They're about to get fucking wrecked by the Boltons, and then the Knights of the Eyrie come in, and they fucking just. It's like a fucking Kurosawa film. That shit's wild.
They really paint it almost like a wave coming in
Yeah.
and washing out
Yeah.
the whole circle that they had around.
Right. And I think that moment in the show, I think that, and if you contrast that with the Battle of Winterfell, is that it was in the daytime.
You could
It's
see it.
scary. scary in the daytime. That's one thing that I really liked about that sequence, was that it was so fucking brutal and it was so bright and it was like a nice day.
It
and
was
shit.
very like Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it feels weird that this is happening in such a nice day.
Well, and there's also that moment where John is by himself and he's running at an entire army, and you're like, "What's gonna happen here?"
Yeah.
he will fall upward as he always does throughout the whole show.
The horses will just be faster than him and run past him. Is actually what happened there.
What about you, Joe? What do you think?
I mean, I would say probably the Battle of the Blackwater, because like that was
a good one. Yeah.
That was the first great. I mean, to me, that was the first great episode that was an all-encompassing, like one setting. One
That
one
wasn't
city.
that the first one setting
I think
It
episode?
was
so.
like the first bottle episode,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
that they had in the show, and that was terrific. And the Cersei and Sansa stuff, where they're like, you know, hidden away in the Red Keep, and like the Tyrion stuff, and Joffrey, like, what did my mother say? Tell me exactly what she said so that I can go and leave this. thing.
God, he's such a little bitch in that episode.
He is.
And like the wildfire explosion, obviously, like, you know, you didn't know anything like that could happen in this like medieval fantasy world, you know, that like, you know, the scope of that explosion that happened. So I would probably say that episode, and if not, then I would say The Long Night.
The Long Night. Okay. What about you, Chris?
All right, so I like big battle things. My favorite shit though is the stuff that happens before and after the battles.
Okay.
When you've got like Bronn sitting around. So one of probably my favorite of those, I like the little tiny vignettes that happen before big things in the show.
Yeah, for sure.
Or right after the things that happen
Like
in the show.
episode 2 of this
Episode
season.
2 of this season.
Which was fucking amazing.
That was the
I
best
love that
episode.
episode.
That was
So good.
Probably my favorite episode of this current season. But like I like the little like where
It was just for the giant fucker scene. Don't
yeah
lie.
yeah it's fucking great.
Well, the knighting of Brienne.
Brienne
Yeah,
was
no,
pretty
great.
tight.
But like I like those. Maybe not so much that, because I like it when it seems like there's a lot going on but nothing actually happens. So I can't remember which one it was, but it's where Bronn. It was right before Blackwater, where Bronn
Hound.
and the Hound go at it for a minute. And that shit was like that dynamic between those two is like I can't remember what like the Hound says like, "Oh, you like killing just as much as me" or some shit like that, and Bronn's like, "Yeah, I do, I do, but I'm gonna drink and sing right now because that's what I want to do right this second."
Yeah.
It like those little tiny like character pieces are like almost little episodes in themselves where
Yes.
you get like a taste of what the actor can do with the writing that they're given, and they can actually really flex their muscles on that.
Yes.
And Bronn did it the best, but like those little things,
That was
my
one of the
favorite.
best Hound moments maybe
Oh, yeah.
in the whole series,
Oh,
though,
yeah.
because it basically gives you the exposition that if the Hound's history, where the Mountain, you know, burned his face and
Right.
burned his head, didn't happen, he would be a guy like Bronn
Yeah,
who
exactly.
would want to like drink and whore before
Yeah.
a big battle. But like they had the one little thing, one little difference, and at that point, the Hound, that's not what he's about anymore. He's
Yeah.
about wanting to kill his brother, and that's
Right.
it. He doesn't care about anything
It's-
else.
Yeah, those little things, or when he's like singing the Lannister song, whatever the fuck it's called.
The
Reigns of Castamere.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's like that willingness to fill the show up
Yeah,
with stuff like that always
that's
made it
what
so
I
good.
always loved about it. And one other thing, it's not really my favorite part, but one time where I actually almost turned it off, I said, "What the fuck? That's enough, boys and girls. I'm done with this." Is when what's his name, Robb Stark, is beheaded and his dog's head's on his fucking body.
Yeah,
And
that
they
was brutal.
Parade him through the fucking
Red Wedding was brutal.
What the whole Red Wedding I was okay with,
But
And
the
just-
dog.
the dog on his head,
And that
I'm
was
like,
such-
what the fuck? Okay, I'm done. After
That
all
was-
this, fuck this.
And the best part about that was in the background. Yeah. It's just the background. Yeah.
Right. But then you get the next episode, like you're
Yes.
saying, where afterwards, where the Hound and Arya are going through, and there's this guy who's bragging about being the guy who put the dog's
Yeah.
head on Robb Stark's body, and Arya goes and like stabs
Yeah.
that guy in the neck,
yeah.
Yeah.
and you're like, wow, she's a killer now. Like she might have killed that guy in King's Landing while she was escaping that kid.
That's
like,
different, though.
But that was just like she didn't know what she was doing, and like, you know, this time like this was for real.
So let's do favorite characters then through the whole show.
I say, okay, how about two favorite characters? Your favorite like A character, so like main plot
Okay,
character,
yeah,
Okay, that's
yeah.
fair.
and
That's
then your
fair.
favorite B character. So like a Jon Snow and like a Padre.
Yeah, I got you. Is that yours?
No, probably not. But
Okay. What you got?
I'll go first. I went last time. Okay, so my favorite like main character, Probably Tyrion
Okay, yeah.
or Jamie.
You gotta pick one, my friend.
Gonna go with Tyrion.
Okay.
Didn't fuck his sister.
Yeah, no. Incest is a no-no.
But he
likes to
kind of
drink-
fucked his sister in the end.
Yeah.
He found her so good, dude.
Yep. And then B character would be Bronn, if you want to consider Bronn a B character.
Yeah, he's a B character for sure.
Or
I think,
Colin. Samuel Tully.
what was I going to say? One of the things I just remembered a moment with Bronn was when Bronn was introduced. That scene in the Eyrie where he
Oh my
fights as
God, he's so
Tyrion's fucking champion, and it's goddamn Dark
no.
Souls against that knight. It's that is
Fucks him
fucking
up,
Dark Souls. He's
and-
in the fucking
and then-
Undead Parish.
And then, what's her name's like, you didn't fight with honor? And he goes, well, he did. He's fucking dead. Fucking great.
Yeah.
I've loved Bronn the entire
yeah, fuck you,
show.
Liza Aaron.
Yeah, I really wish they had done a little better with Bronn at the in
This
season.
this season he was nothing. It kind of sucks.
He had a
just
good
kinda popped
coda.
around
He had a good
and-
coda
Yeah,
where
his
he was like,
coda
"I got
was
a
nice.
castle. I'm going to swear at the table."
I did like that. If you check
the Master of Coin will be happy to bring money for the brothels.
Also Davos. In Davos calls him the Lord of Lofty Titles.
Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
you go on the wiki now, they've changed his alias to the Lord of Lofty Titles.
Nice.
So,
All
Joe,
right.
what's your characters?
You got to pick one, so it's either Arya or Tyrion for me. But I would go with Tyrion also, and I'd say my favorite B character would probably be Ser Jorah.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's a
Jorah's
good pick.
sick.
Sir Cuckold.
Yeah, Sir Friendzone.
No, he was just great.
Oh, he was.
I
great.
love him.
He was just great, and
he was-
for me the Tyrion Jorah stuff where they're on that boat like drifting through old
Yeah.
Valyria, talking about the Doom and all that stuff. Like that to me was like the best.
Oh,
Before the
Tyrion
Stone
had
Man
s-
stuff happened, but like that was a great interaction. Those two
Tyrion had
characters
so
together
many
were great.
sequences like that with different people in the show. Him
'Cause
and
he's not a
Varys, him and
fighter.
Bronn,
That's
him,
why.
him and fucking Jorah. Like it's always good.
It's because Peter Dinklage, man.
Wait,
Well,
like,
Dink- the Dinkles.
that is Peter Dinklage's just great acting ability.
I would have to say that my favorite crew is definitely Tyrion, Bronn, and Podrick. Like that
Yeah,
whole
yeah.
magic cock thing and the brothel where like he got away with not paying and they never heard of that before.
So who's your B character?
Oh, Jorah.
Jorah.
Oh,
Oh,
you
sorry,
said
Jerry
Jorah.
said Jorah.
Yeah, you said
Sorry,
Jorah.
I forgot about him because you're talking about Podrick, who's my favorite fucking B character. Here we go. Favorite B character, Podrick. Favorite A character, Sir Podrick. Master of wheelies.
Best part about Podrick is that he has a giant dong.
He's got a
And that
giant.
He's amazing.
Well,
He's
it's
got a
not
giant dong and he can
necessarily
sing
giant.
good.
I think they made
it's-
reference that he also has a large penis.
Yeah, I don't know if it's giant or just.
But yeah, that
magic.
he's
it just works
amazing.
good. It just works good.
That he's
That's
so
how to use
amazing. It was they could not even describe how amazing he was in bed.
This
That
is
was
some-
the biggest mystery they left hanging, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
I was actually pretty upset about
Well,
that. We didn't see the
that and
full
that and
start
the
to
joke.
finish with him.
That and the joke about the donkey and the sponge or whatever.
Oh yeah,
The honeycomb.
Honeycomb
honeycomb
the donkey.
into the brothel or whatever. Yeah, you never hear that. Okay, so Podrick's my B character. And Olivia can attest that I thought that he was not necessarily going to be the ruler of the Seven Kingdoms, but he was going to be very important in the end, and he was. And he still is. My favorite A character, I don't know. I mean, I like Jamie a lot because Jamie is a story of redemption. I didn't like how it ended up.
Is it really a story of redemption though?
It could
It
have
is.
been.
It could
It was
have been.
only 2 seasons ago he was back with her.
But what I'm trying to say is that, like, I liked Jamie because he was such a complicated
Yeah, I
character.
think it's a story of 3-dimensionality.
He
Yes.
changed pretty dramatically.
he
He changes
was
pretty
humbled.
dramatically,
Yeah.
but
Humbled.
I think that he learns to lean into his good qualities, but I don't think he ever loses his
He
bad
vacillated,
qualities.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
he was honorable when he convinced the Boltons not to rape Brienne.
Yeah.
Right.
And let's be real, before the show, the dude kind of does save the kingdom.
Yeah, he is a secret hero. He's kind of another JC Chazet, but with sister fucking.
When he goes to the Riverlands, though, like all that stuff it's not honorable, Jamie
Yeah, no.
Lannister.
Yeah. I also just an honorable mention the Martell, the Illyria Martell, the old lady who poisons
Olenna?
Olenna, yeah.
Yeah.
Olenna Martell.
That's my B character.
Yeah, she's tight.
Definitely
I've said
Olenna.
tight
I thought
3,000
you liked
times this episode, but she
dude
rules.
with the spear.
Grey Worm?
Grey Worm?
No, the
Oberyn.
Oberyn, yeah, well, that's because he's sexy. But
Oberyn and her
He's-
are so close, like between which one would be my favorite B character, but Olenna ekes it out just because of that her final scene.
Tells Cersei it was me.
she's more Cersei than Cersei.
Yeah,
Olenna.
she's amazing. And what I like about her is that while a lot of the other women in the show kind of give up their femininity in order to assume power, they become masculine. Arya becomes masculine to assume power. Cersei really assumes power when she loses her hair and everything. Olenna doesn't.
She
She's
just
this
sits back in
bitchin' old
Highgarden.
lady.
Yeah, she just sits back in Highgarden and just tells people, kill these children, please.
Yeah, no, she's phenomenal, and the way that she's acted is unbelievable. Plus, she was a Bond girl back in the day.
She
Was
told
she?
Daenerys to do what she did, basically.
Yeah.
She told her to be a dragon. Basically,
Yeah.
she said, go and flame it up.
Yep.
All the
Flame
people
flame
there.
on. Just Dracarys, come on.
Yeah,
let's go.
I thought that she was just an incredible character, very understated. Didn't need to do more than she did, but still leave such an impact. If you go back and watch, she's not in the show that much.
No, she's not.
But she's very memorable.
Yeah.
And then, but for my A character, I'm going to come at it in, I think, a totally different direction than you guys. And I think my favorite A character might be Sansa.
Sansa is the sleeper. I can't believe we haven't talked about
we
her.
didn't mention her.
She fucking ran the whole. She won.
First of all,
the show. She won.
I do not buy these criticisms that her character got powerful because she got raped and that's anti-feminist. Don't buy those criticisms at all. Her character had a clear, constant arc of self-realization that included that sequence, but that by no means was.
It wasn't-
it's
yeah.
not like she was a moron. Then she got raped, and the next episode she was amazing.
No, she was fairly naive. Then she married Joffrey, and she got hard. And then she got married to Bolton, and she realized that she has to fucking really play the game.
And she picked up every lesson along the way.
Right. And she had Littlefinger there, so she learned how to fucking scheme as much as his mustache is annoying. And I think that Sansa did win. She was the only person that got exactly what she wanted.
And that moment that they orchestrated when they killed Littlefinger was pretty sweet. And came out of
Oh
this
my
one.
god, yeah.
She's also one of the only people in the whole show that ever really stood up to Daenerys and didn't get killed.
yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
She's like,
She
no,
was
the
going
North.
to be killed, though.
Yeah, the North is free, and that's fucking the way it is.
If Daenerys had lived,
Oh yeah. That was.
she would have taken the
that was definitely part of what.
Drogon up to Winterfell and
Oh, yeah.
set it on fire.
But that's so I really like the arc of her character, and I think that people are giving her a little short shrift because there's so many great characters in the show, but also because I think people don't appreciate how much she changed every season. Like people have this perception, I think, that her character basically stayed the same for like the first 3 seasons,
Which is
And
not.
I don't think that's really
No,
a
not at
fair
all.
critique.
And you never gave your favorite.
My A character was Jamie.
Jamie? Oh, you want
Jamie, yeah. He's got a hand of gold. They're always cold, but a woman's touch is warm.
Do you want it for kind of like a last of these things? Favorite death?
Favorite death?
Pop in the head.
Who?
Pop in the head.
Pop in the head. What's that?
Pop in the
Oberyn,
head.
man.
Oberyn getting his fucking head.
Oh, I'm
gets
sorry. I
fucking-
thought that was
his
something
skull
someone
gets-
said. I was like racking
Nope.
my brain for a time when
That
was.
was the only time I went, fuck this show. I'm not watching it anymore. And by the next day, I was fine. But I was so upset because I love that character so much.
It's been proven, though, by the logic of the show, that Oberyn's head is squishier than the Hound's head.
Yeah, that's true.
His eyes still go in, though.
His eyes are weak. His weak point is his eyes.
Oh
But
man, I thought the Hound was gonna make.
I
it, too.
remember like the moment by moment feeling I had watching that scene. I remember being like, he's got him. And then he started strutting. And I was like, no. And I audibly said like, no. And then
yeah.
then he grabbed his leg and I was like, son of a bitch. I was so upset.
Okay, Joe, what's your favorite death?
Maybe Walder Frey.
Walder Frey. Okay.
That was cool. That's tight. What was the?
That was probably the most like payback. He's like, you fucking ugly bastard. Go back to Hogwarts.
I mean, I wouldn't say I liked it, but I think that Ned Stark was the most important death.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that was the thing that started the whole show. Essentially,
I remember
The
my
White
like
Walkers.
moment by moment for that too, because it was still in the early part of the show, and you're like, "This show's about Ned Stark." Because I had not read
Well,
anything.
when you're watching it in the first season, you're like, "Oh, this is the main character. I'm following this guy. You know, he's just trying to do right by everything."
He's
and
chill.
Then if you watch it again, you're like, "That's the stupidest guy I've ever seen.
Yeah,
He does everything wrong." And,
You either
but
play-
only because he's the person he is, and he's not
Yeah.
suited for being, in that environment.
You
But-
play the Game of Thrones or you die.
yeah, I remember.
Stark should never go south. That's like a rule. Don't ever go south. You
except
die.
for Brown.
I remember
Bran,
watching it and being like, well, as soon as like the blade fell, going, "Oh, so it's like a dream sequence." That was my exact thought.
Arya's
So-
gonna wake up.
Because I was thinking right before that, like, I wonder how he gets out of this. Like, is somebody gonna come in? Oh, must be a dream. is it Arya's dream? And I was like 30 seconds of like, well, that didn't just happen. And then I was like, no, they really just fucking killed that guy. Sean Bean really just got executed. This is actually over.
Brendan, what's your favorite death?
Joffrey. There were definitely cinematically better deaths in the show, but God, I hated that fucking little shit so much. There's nothing like his personality was the exact kind of thing that drives me nuts, like that entitled, just shithead.
little dipshit king.
And just watching him die, I actually knew it was coming. Which is one of the reasons I knew to think to myself to savor it.
Yeah.
Because I had seen a post online that showed him like with
Purple.
the purple face,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Fuck!" Now I know it's probably going to happen. But it was still just like, "Fuck yes, this is so great."
My favorite death is both the Baratheon brothers dying, Renly dying, and then also Stannis dying. Renly's was great because I think that was probably one of the more like weird, like very early on, weird magic. Like Melisandre birthed the shadow Stannis to fucking murk his brother. Brienne was there. That's like when you get introduced
Davos
to
was
Brienne.
jerking off in the corner.
Yeah, Davos was totally into it. I thought that was like I would have liked to have seen more of that shit.
Isn't that the craziest thing that happened? Like in this show, it happened early.
As far as like magic,
As far as like a shadow person stabbing like somebody.
As far as just like
I thought we were in store for way more crazy shit. Like for the series after that.
As far as like physically implausible magic, like putting aside like dragons being big and breathing fire, like I think that's probably the biggest thing through the whole show. I mean, aside like, you got somebody that like raises the dead and stuff like that. But I think that there's kind of this mystery to this, like there's
the
this
Lord of
fucking
Light.
shadow demon,
Right.
That's gonna come stab shit. That's another thing I saw people bitching about. They're like, we never found out, like, is Lord of Light real? Did you miss the whole point of the show?
I mean, not necessarily that he's real. I would have liked to seen more shit about the Lord of Light because I mean, obviously that's part of the mystique of Melisandre is that she's a red priestess and she's old. You know, when she takes off her choker, I wish Davos had put that on and got hunky. That would have been cool.
Davos doesn't need to get hunky. Davos is already hunky.
I know he's
a fucking
I want it
treat.
both ways.
He's a treat.
He's
a snack.
But I think that like the Lord of Light shit. I think that the Lord of Light shit got very played down.
I don't
toward
want
the end.
any
They
more
muted
explanation to the magical elements of the show than we got, honestly. I like how obtuse and ephemeral it is, but also remember I'm a huge Dark Souls fan. I love that Dark Souls doesn't explain shit to you.
Yeah,
Can I introduce a quick one?
sure.
Sure.
Moment in a rewatch that you would just fast forward because you don't need to watch it because you know what happens and you don't want to watch it again. Even if it's a specific moment within like a larger moment.
I would
Any of the faceless men shit with Arya, I didn't care for it.
It's a little repetitive on rewatch.
Yeah.
I just meant because it was so horrifying.
Horrifying.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
For a horrifying angle, I don't know. I mean, I've got a pretty strong stomach when it comes to shit getting murdered
Yeah, I
real
can't.
good. But like, I think that like Chris was saying, the Red Wedding after sequence was kind of tough to watch.
Rough.
I don't know. I mean, I don't think there's any part of the show that I wouldn't rewatch. Even the parts that I didn't like, I still would want to rewatch.
I don't want to watch
them.
Oberyn again.
You don't want to watch Oberyn?
That is a pretty gruesome fucking scene.
I don't need to listen to Shireen.
Shireen.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I don't need to listen to her crying and screaming as they're dragging her up to the post and her realizing what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And then it happening. I don't need to see that ever again.
I don't want to see
one of my
Davos
favorite-
be
by the
sad
way,
again.
That was a
You're also a
brilliant.
father too, so that
Well, yeah, I
probably
mean-
plays
Yeah,
into it
that was a
little bit.
brilliant
Yeah, and a
callback in
person.
this season.
And a
though.
person.
And a person.
That was a really brilliant
Not a
callback when the
sociopath.
girl with the scarred face was talking to Davos
right.
in this season.
Yeah.
And then I was like, fucking Stannis, you son of a bitch.
Yo, that little girl totally dropped the ball. Like, everybody got fucking murdered in the crypt. That was her one job.
Yeah.
Yeah, she said she was going to
She said she was going to protect the crypt. What the fuck?
Yeah, I think I will amend mine to be Shireen.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
I'm
was
gonna
pretty
I'm gonna back
nuts.
up with that too.
Um,
I got one real quick. Maybe we can wrap it up after
Melisandre's real body. Can I fast forward?
that. Yeah.
nah, dude, that's what I'm here for,
So
dude.
there's a lot of talk that there's going to be a prequel or a spin-off or something.
There's going to
like
be
that.
3 spinoffs.
Jesus,
Three
fucking Christ.
spin-offs. Three different eras?
Supposedly 2 of the pilots were already filmed.
Jesus fucking.
One
Christ.
is about the making of the White Walkers.
Okay.
One is- one
I
ta-
desperately want to see one in the Age of Heroes
One
which
is definitely the Age of Heroes.
and I
the
want
Age of Heroes?
that's like Bran the Builder and like
Oh,
all
gotcha,
like the early Targaryen shit, like the early Targaryen dynasty, which is dope. I want to see one that's the Robert's War. I believe
That's
that.
Think of Game
what
of
I fucking want more than anything
Think
else.
of Game of Thrones, but a little more high fantasy.
Yeah,
That's
it's going
what
to be
Age
way
of
more.
Heroes would
The
be.
I don't
deeper
want
you
that.
go back in
I
time,
want
the
that.
more fantasy it's
I
going to
want
be.
Ned and Bobby B.
I don't think
fucking
they're.
shit up
Yeah,
with
I
the
don't think that
Westeros.
they're going to do one.
They're not going to do
that.
Robert's War.
Why wouldn't they do that?
They seem to be that if they're going to do prequel ones, they want them to be farther
far
back.
enough away that they don't have to get the same actors and shit.
And
guess.
also that I think that
You
they
know
don't,
what's gonna
they don't
happen.
want people to know what's going to happen. There's no
Yeah.
I don't
there's
know,
no
dude.
tricks.
I'd watch the fucking.
Are they gonna
shit
do,
out
like,
of
the-
Well,
Bobby's
so we know that
War.
one is the Age of Heroes. The other two are really just speculative.
Is
at
it
this
going to be
point.
like the deep? Like,
we know they
like
wrote that there were
Children of
five.
the Forest,
there were five.
v.
Well, there were
First
five
Men,
proposals,
Volantis, maybe.
and they cut two of them, and they're filming pilots for three.
the
Okay.
Doom of Valyria.
One is definitely the Age of Heroes.
Okay.
The other two, it's assumed that at least one of them is an after Game of Thrones story.
Okay.
And a lot of people are assuming that might be Arya. Like a
That would
spin-off
Col-
about
colonizing
Arya.
the world and
That would
introducing.
probably make them.
I don't know if I want to watch Game of Thrones about one character.
Yeah, no.
I definitely don't. Count me out, dog.
Ned and Bobby B. fucking shit up in Westeros. Thank you, Joe, for coming on today.
Thank you for having me again. Can't wait to do it again.
Oh yeah, no, definitely, man. So like you said, you got some Family Feud stuff coming up soon, correct?
Yeah, we're gonna do it again at Franklin Alley Social Club. Keep an eye out for Alley Feud.
We'll be sharing it on the
Yeah, we'll-
socials.
Other stuff.
Yeah, we'll
Instagram.
definitely-
We'll be
Pimp it
saying
out.
it on air. You know I'm gonna be there, baby.
And then trivia as usual. Thursday night at the Mass Poorhouse. Wednesday night at Franklin Alley Social Club. Tuesday night at Bombers.
And
That's
as
worth it.
usual, I will always like to mention when this comes up, I hate trivia. I like that Thursday night trivia.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Do
What-
not like trivia. Like that trivia.
we've said this when you're on air, when you're here. We've said this when you're not here. Yours is the only trivia I can fucking stand because your trivia is about using your brain and doing puzzles. I was doing puzzles with my friends at the bar.
Yeah, use your brain.
I hate going to trivia and then
trust-
somebody's like, and then it's okay, sports, we're just going to get all these wrong.
Yeah,
I trust that you guys are smart enough, and everybody who comes to trivia is smart enough to put this stuff together. And like, there are some teams that whatever, they don't like it because they think it's too hard or something like that. And maybe it's not what is the trivia for them. But I'm offering something else for people that like to use their brain. So
Yeah.
there it
And
is.
It's great.
We appreciate it. So, with that, folks, this was Everyone is a Critic. If you're listening, thanks for listening. If you're supporting us on Patreon, thank you for supporting us on Patreon. We appreciate you. If you want an audiobook, you can get an audiobook too, but everything I can tell you about that. And have a nice night or day and be nice to each other. And be nice to each other. Everyone's a critic. Is that what I was supposed to say?
That's what's
Sup? Sup?
Sup?
Take it, Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones? Just words. Just
All right, I'm in. Stop.